Today I'm going to show you an awesome, very powerful exercise for your Quadratus Lumborum, which is a muscle in your back that is oftentimes a big contributor to lower back pain. What's going on, everybody? How you doing? It's Blake Bowman here with GuerrillaZen Fitness, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you an exercise that may help you out with your lower back pain. Before I start though, realize that I'm not a medical professional, I'm a personal trainer and I specialize in corrective exercise, okay? For that reason, always make sure that you consult with your doctor first before you try any of the exercises on my channel, because what I'm trying to do here is just educate you, and that is, the whole purpose of my videos on here. They're for educational purposes only. That being said, one of the most problematic muscles in the back that contributes to low back pain is one known as the Quadratus Lumborum. I'm just going to abbreviate it in this video as the QL. Now, the QL, basically, it's on either side of your spine, okay? There's one right here. There's also one right here. There's two of them, okay? They attach on your lower ribs and then run down here and attach at the back of your pelvis. Now, many times, people will develop tightness in one QL, just on one side, okay? Either the left one will become tight and dysfunctional or the right one will. And that can happen for a variety of different reasons. Sleeping on your side or like leaning all day, using a computer mouse. These are two of the most common causes of this. If one becomes very, very tight and the other one is very, very long, okay, and it's not tight, then typically the symptoms and the aches and the inflammation will develop on the side with the tighter QL. Now, if you have this going on where one QL is very, very tight and you kind of have pain on, either over here in this area or over here on this side, then there is a twofold approach that you need to take to address this. So the first thing that is definitely going to be, advantageous to you is stretching and releasing the tight QL, okay? The one that is on the symptomatic side, right? So that one's probably going to be tight and short. So stretching and releasing that can make a big difference. Now, I've made a video about this in the past. I'll include that in the description down beneath this video. I might make a card that rolls across the screen here, but I'm not going to talk about that today. But that is one side of, one way to approach a tight QL. So you basically want to release it, right? You want to release a tight one. However, that's, like I said, only one side. The other side is actually strengthening the opposing QL, okay? The opposite QL. So if your right one is tight, what you want to do is stretch and release that, but you also want to strengthen the other one on the left side so that basically your back is more balanced. Once you've achieved that balance between both your left and right QL, I think that you'll find that your back feels a lot better. Now realize it's important for you to know which side is the tight side in order for you to do this, right? You need to know if you have an asymmetrical, QL imbalance, okay? And I'll tell you one way that you can almost for sure know if your QL is tight. And basically, because the QL attaches on your back like this, if one side becomes tighter than the other, since it attaches at your pelvis, it typically will pull up the pelvis and cause what's called a lateral pelvic tilt, okay? Lateral means off to the side. So think of this as your pelvis, right? It's like a flat shelf. If your QL on this side is tight and short, it pulls up the back of the pelvis like this, okay? So basically, if you have a QL that's tight on the left side and you get analyzed, you might find that that hip is up a little bit higher than the other one. Like I said, I really just want to stress the importance of this because you need to know which side is tight and which side is long in order to do this effectively. Because if you strengthen the side that's already tight and you release the side that's already weak, you'll make this actually worse. If you need help with that, check out my coaching page on my website or have a physical therapist or somebody assess you. But moving forward, assuming that you know which side is tight and you're doing exercises to stretch and release that side, now I'm going to show you a really simple exercise that you can actually use to strengthen the opposing side. All right, so to do this exercise, what we're going to do is something called a modified prone cobra. All right, so all you need is your body weight for this, okay? And you're going to start by laying on your stomach, okay? And what you're going to do is I have identified which side is tight. So I'm going to pretend like this is the weaker side and it's my right side that's kind of bugging me. It's my right side that's a little inflamed, okay? And it's also the right hip that's kind of hiked up towards my right shoulder, okay? This hip is a little bit lower. So what you're going to do, you're going to pull your kind of arms off the ground. You're going to arch your lower back slightly and then you're going to pull this hip up. Okay, you're going to jam it up by the ribs, and you're gonna hold that, okay? And you're gonna try to actively squeeze the muscles on this side of your back harder than the left side. You'll find that that's actually easier to do when you pull up the hip, okay? So I don't know how well you can see that, so I'll try to show you here. Basically, you're arching off the ground, pulling up one side, okay? You're literally trying to pull that hip upwards like this, okay? To make this muscle, the QL, strengthen, okay? And that's pretty much it, okay? You hold that for like 4 or 5 sets of 30 seconds. While you're arching, you're bending to the side that you're trying to contract and strengthen, because that is going to be the weaker side for you. And like I've already explained in this video, bringing balance to the back is going to be key here, and that's what we're trying to do with this. So we're trying to strengthen that weak side by pulling up the hip to encourage it to turn on more than the other side. One way to kind of know if you have an overactive QL is when you do this, if you just try to keep your pelvis flat, and you do this, okay, and you're not actively trying to pull up one hip, and you feel the tight QL turning on, okay, that's one way that you know that you're probably a little tight there. So this exercise, pulling up that hip on the weaker side, is going to help shut down the other one by balancing out the musculature of your low back. That's it. I'd recommend doing that a couple times a week for about 4 sets of 30 seconds. Keep in mind that this may be contraindicated if you have a severe anterior pelvic tilt, okay? Which means your pelvis is tilted forwards like this and your butt is sticking out. I'll include a link in the description down below to videos that I made about that too. But basically, you might want to avoid really arching the back and focus more on just pulling up the pelvis to the side if you have an anterior pelvic tilt, because arching the back a lot can basically worsen the anterior pelvic tilt. Another thing I would encourage you to look into is the possibility of what's called a true leg length discrepancy. And that means that one bone in your leg literally might be longer than the other side. And if that happens, your pelvis is gonna always tilt. And you know, regardless of what you do to it, it's gonna be very hard to actually fix it, okay? It's like expecting a table to be flat even though you have like legs of different lengths supporting the table. It's never gonna be flat no matter what you do to the table. You actually have to lift the heel up. So I've made a video about that as well, how to measure your legs and determine if you have a true leg length discrepancy. So make sure you check that out in the description down beneath this video. Also keep in mind that you shouldn't do this exercise forever, right? Basically, the first thing that you should do right away is try to identify the activities that are causing the imbalance in your QLs to form in the first place, right? Sleeping on your side as well as leaning on a desk using like a mouse, those are 2 really common causes. So first thing you want to do is you want to get down to those causative factors and stop doing them. And then when it comes to this exercise as well as releasing the tight QL, I would say to basically do those for a couple weeks while stopping the causative factors, right? Sleeping on the side and leaning during your work, and basically see how that feels after a couple weeks. If it starts to feel better, great. At that point, stop doing it, because if you continue to do this exercise, you can create the opposite problem. You can start to develop a tight QL on the side that you're actually trying to strengthen if you continuously do this over and over and over again. So basically, just use this temporarily and let me know how it goes for you. So that's it for today. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Now, there are 3 other really important exercises that you need to be doing to keep your back very healthy. They're exercises and ways to actually move your back in functional situations. When you're picking things up, when you're deadlifting, or when you're just like moving around, walking, or playing sports. There are 3 critical things that you need to be doing and exercises that help you with those things. And if you're not doing them, then your back and your spine is just going to be predisposed to injury forever, and it's going to be very hard to keep your back healthy if you're not doing these things. Now, I actually have a little workout that I put together where I teach you these things. All you have to do to get that workout is open up the description down below and click the first link in the description there. What that will do is it'll take you to my webpage where I'll ask you for your email. As soon as you enter in your email, I'll send you straight over to that workout. Now, if you're watching this on mobile and it was hard for you to open the description, then you can get to that same page on my website by clicking this button right over this way. Now, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do that over here. And if you want to see more videos about the back, then check out this video right over here. Other than that, as always, I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you next time.